Hey everybody, hope you're having a great weekend, although these days, weekend, weekday, what day is it? So I asked for questions and I got some really good ones, so let's see what we got here. What kind of software do you use? Well, for audio it's primarily Pro Tools, because that's what I've been using and teaching for the last 20 some years, so partly just because it's what I'm used to. And the reason we teach it is because, like it or not, Pro Tools still has the greatest percentage of the market when it comes to professional recording studios and audio for video post and so on. But if I was just starting out doing recording by myself in my own home studio, I might not go with Pro Tools. I might go with something like Cubase, or another one that I've really liked in the past was Motu's Digital Performer. For video editing, I used Sony Vegas for a long time, but I just recently started doing Premiere because that's what we're teaching at the college, and so I'm trying to learn that one the best I can. Big Tasty Ben says, I thought you were Steve Albini from the thumbnail. Well, that is just awesome. No one has ever mistaken me for Steve Albini, neither for looks and certainly not for skill level. Robert asks, this is probably the dumbest and most unwanted question of the day. Okay, I'm just going to stop you right there, and I want to address this because I get questions like this every now and then where people say, this might be a stupid question, but... And in one case in this Q&A, someone said, I can't think of anything to ask that wouldn't be embarrassing. It's unfortunate that the world is the way it is, and the internet seems to really bring out the worst in some people. As far as I'm concerned, there is nothing to be ashamed of in asking a question. All those people that shame people for not knowing what this or that is or whatever, they all seem to forget one thing. They were all beginners at one point in their career. I mean, if you're working with someone who makes you feel bad about things that you are unfamiliar with, that shame you for your ignorance on one topic or another, go find someone else to work with. I mean, that is completely counterproductive to education. I will say this, that some of the best engineers out there never shame people for asking a question, no matter how basic it is. So again, I say that, if you run into someone who acts like that, they probably aren't worth your time, and probably aren't as smart as they think they are. For me personally, on my channel, I am never going to deliberately make someone feel bad for asking a basic question. Now, on the other hand, if someone gives me snark, which happens quite a bit in some of these YouTube comments, I'm gonna give it right back. Like this guy who in all caps says, why does this come off as so arrogant? Because I'm an arrogant asshole. Answer your own question there, dude. Anyway, he says, I am looking for the easiest platform to use in putting music together, making beats, and just learning for one's own personal sense of joy. I've always been into car audio and have always wanted to create my own bass type of CD recordings. What platform is going to be the best to work with, basically, is what he's asking here. I kind of addressed this in my DAW video. And the long and short of it is that what's the best one? You really can't answer that question. They're all good. It's just little differences in their interfaces and what features they have. So really, you just got to dig in and find out which one works for you. And once you find one you're comfortable with, is to just really dig in and learn it the best you can. Now, you mentioned creating loops. Now, there's a couple of different approaches to this. What some people do is they just download loops that people have already created or are using loops that were licensed to them, and that's okay. That's one way to work. But then there's also, when people say creating loops, sometimes that means creating them from scratch, which means recording your own samples and going into MIDI and building those loops from the beginning, and that takes a lot of work. I mean, you can get there, but it does take quite a bit of know-how in the recording process in how to make MIDI. Another approach to this is using software that is loop-based, where they take samples that you can draw in as a loop, which is basically the idea behind GarageBand. But I do want to show you one in particular that you might find interesting. Let's go to... Here we go. This is a program called Acid, and it is distributed by a software company called Magix, and I'll put a description below. This is the software company that used to be Sony Creative Software, and before that it was SoundForge, just to show you how far back I go. This is a great program for loop-based production, and depending on which version of this you get, you can get different packages of loops, and you can buy add-ons. And if you do want to get deeper into the creation part of it, there's tools in this as well. So it might be a good one to check out. All right, Bobby asks, hi, I'm only a few months into recording music in my bedroom, so I want to know what the best ways to improve the quality of my music. The extent of my current recording equipment is $25 pair of studio headphones and a $30 USB mic. What's the next affordable upgrades purchases that I should think about? Well, first of all, congratulations on getting started. I think that's fantastic. Got to start somewhere. And, you know, you can actually create some pretty decent recordings with a $30 USB mic. Big truck. One of the first things that I would recommend that you do is, if you haven't checked it out already, look at my first video that I made, which is entitled How to Make Good Recordings. It's a dumb title, I know, but anyway. That introduces my 9 puzzle pieces of professional recording, and that will tell you all of the different parts that go into making a good recording. What you should probably concentrate on right now is finding a good space in your home that gives you a nice quiet environment that isn't too reflective, and just try different places in your house. Try your closet. You'll probably get a really good dead sound in there. Try in the garage. Maybe you'll get a nice reverberant sound in there. Try the bathroom. You know, try different environments and see what kind of different sounds you get when you're recording in those environments. And do some recordings close and do some with the mic far away. Listen to the difference. Listen to how the room sounds when the mic is further away rather than close up. And I'm also going to recommend another YouTube channel for you to check out. Go to Recording Revolution. This guy's name is Graham, and he has been doing this for a long time, and he's got a huge library of videos that range from, you know, advanced stuff like how to, you know, really refine your mix, to some really basic stuff like some how to set up a basic recording studio and how to do microphone placement for various instruments and so forth. A lot of good stuff in there. But then, you know, watch all my videos too. As far as what your next purchase should be, I would look into a better set of headphones. Because when you are recording, you need to have an environment that allows you to hear what you are recording accurately. And if you're only on a $25 set of headphones, you're probably not getting the best monitoring environment. So I would look into some decent headphones. And you know, we could talk all day about different recommendations there, but you probably want to spend at least $100 for a good set of closed headphones. That would be my recommendation. Ruckus TV asks, how do you EQ mud out from electronic synth pads or strings? That way they fit with a vocal. Well, there's a couple of things that might be going on when you talk about getting a pad or strings to fit with a vocal. But let's look at the first part of your question there. How do we get the mud out? Let's go to Pro Tools and check it out here. All right, let's take a look at this. So here I've got an equalizer here. One of the first things you can try, one of the most basic things, is to just use a shelving EQ and bring down the level of the lows. So this band right here is my low shelf. You know, pull that down about 6 dB or so, and then play around with the frequency right here. That would be the first thing that I try. The other thing I might try, because a lot of times these string pads and stuff will have a frequency in the low mids that really kind of sticks out. So it might be better to find that frequency range and cut it out. The way we can fix this is with a little technique some people call sweep and destroy, where you take your peak dip band like this. I would probably narrow up the Q a little bit more. And then you're going to sweep around like this. We're increasing gain, and then we sweep around until we find that frequency that is bothering us, that we think is sticking out too much. And believe me, when you find it, it really will stick out like a sore thumb. Once you find that problem area frequency, then you just decrease the gain like that. Okay? Now, the next part of your question was to make it fit in with a vocal. Well, doing what I just showed you might work in this case, but a lot of times if you're having problems with a certain pad or something working in a vocal, you might want to look at the mid-range. Okay, anywhere from 1K to 3K, somewhere in that range is really where the heart of the vocal is going to be. So if the string pad is stepping on the vocal, you might try cutting out a certain frequency range like that, and again, sweep around to see what frequency range will allow the vocal to pop out of the mix and breathe a little bit better. So try some of that. Xbox Mods 92 asks, what specs does a PC need to have for music production? I'm doing audio recording with an audio interface, but I keep getting these glitches when choosing high sample rate or choosing other drivers. All I need is a PC for audio recording, better laptop for portability. I have 4 channels and don't want to go to a studio every time I record a tune. Well, the glitches that you're getting could be a number of different things. If you're recording high sampling frequencies, I'm assuming that means like 96K and above. It could be that the audio drivers or maybe the interface that you're using wasn't designed to work at higher sample frequencies, or it could be that just the processing power of the computer that you have can't handle it. It could be a number of different things there, and it also depends on exactly what the glitch is that you're describing. But you asked about computers, so when my students ask me this, I basically focus on 2 things. One is get the highest processor speed that you can afford, and get the most RAM that you can afford. And in terms of RAM, the memory, you want to be at least 16 gig these days. 32 would be better if you can afford it, but I know that does cost quite a bit of money. You don't mention what your budget is, so I don't want to give you advice that completely prices you out there. Another YouTuber that I'm going to recommend to you is Glenn Fricker's channel, Spectre Sound Studios. Let's take a look here. Here we are. Spectre Sound Studios. And what I would do, once you go to the home page, go to this little search right here. This allows you to search within this channel. This is a feature that still isn't in the mobile app, and that makes me so angry. But on the PC, if you click there and just search computer, he's got a number of videos that address this very thing. Here he talks about building an audio production PC for $600. He talks about this company right here called Slick Audio, that they make custom computers that are specifically designed for audio production. And then he has some other videos in here that talk specifically about computers, and he had a really bad experience with an Acer computer once, which is actually just a fairly entertaining video to watch. Another thing that students often ask me about is how big of a hard drive should I get on the computer? As far as the system hard drive, I wouldn't worry about that very much, because really you should be saving your project on external hard drives. So get yourself some portable solid state drives that you use to put all your projects on, and make sure you back up your projects, either with cloud-based storage or with a secondary hard drive that you use to back up all of your projects. You should never ever have only one copy of your projects. You didn't ask me about that, I'm on a tangent. Okay, next. Sean asked a question about a specific piece of equipment that I have, a Yamaha Clavinova CP170. Wondering about the aux out jacks, whether they're balanced or unbalanced. What's the output impedance? Does it even matter? Okay, I looked this up and let me show you what I found. Alright, I found this manual here, and this says CSP. I wonder if that's what you meant, because I couldn't find CP170. But as we look through this, here we go. Take a look right here. Look at the connectors that they have plugged in right there. That is a tip sleeve connector, so that indicates that that is an unbalanced connection, assuming that their drawings are accurate, which usually they are. The other clue here is that it says phone plug standard. Standard would mean just the 2-conductor phone plug. Now, you asked whether it's line level or instrument level. Another clue here is that they indicate us being able to plug these into powered speakers. Powered speakers are looking for line level signals, so that tells me that it's most likely a line level signal coming out of that. And as far as the impedance, it doesn't specify, and you asked, does it even matter? Probably not worth worrying about, because most devices today have an output impedance that is low enough to match the high input impedance of most input devices. So it's really not something you even need to think about these days. So hopefully that answers your question. Those from Heaven Came to Earth asks me, when I was buying an audio interface, I had two options, a Focusrite USB or a Focusrite Thunderbolt. My PC has Thunderbolt, and apparently it's not stable to buy the Thunderbolt for Windows, so I went with USB. You ask, is there any noticeable difference in using USB compared to Thunderbolt? In a word, no. The amount of throughput that is necessary to record digital audio compared to the amount of throughput that is available from USB 3 and Thunderbolt far exceeds what is necessary. As a matter of fact, USB 2 is sufficient for most digital audio. So you asked, would you hear a difference in sound quality? Certainly not. If you ever exceeded the throughput, it just wouldn't work. Or you would just get all kinds of glitches and stuff like that. You wouldn't hear a difference in the sound quality. We're basically talking about a pipe that is taking your data from one device to another, and whether or not, you know, there's good enough traffic for that. And I'm going to put a link in the description to an article that I found that addresses this very thing, and you should check that out. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks for everyone who asked questions. If you have more questions, feel free to leave them down below. If you have questions about any one of my videos, leave them in the comments there. I try to answer as many of them as I can. For those of you whose question I answered in this, if you have additional questions, feel free to ask them, and we can continue that conversation. But hope everyone is safe, happy, and healthy, and I'll see you later.